Hello, I am Tutor Ricky's teaching partner. My name is Suzuki. I will be explaining the content of this video to you. This video covers business and company law. I will share information on this topic using an example from a previous exam question that is part of the Hong Kong Institute of Certified Public Accountants Qualification Programme, Module 10, Business and Company Law. It explores common law and the Misrepresentation Ordinance. First, let's review the question requirements, and then we'll examine the question itself. Let's begin discussing the topic now. Required. In relation to contract law, analyse whether Ronald can bring a claim for misrepresentation against Nancy on the basis of what Nancy said about there being no competitor in the neighbourhood before Ronald entered into the contract with her to buy her business. Question. Nancy has been running a dessert shop in a village in the New Territories as a sole proprietor for more than 10 years. During that period, Nancy has been earning a stable, decent income from her business. About 6 months ago, Nancy began to think of retiring and selling her business because her doctor advised her to relax and take good care of her health. Ronald expressed interest in buying Nancy's business and visited Nancy's dessert shop. During the visit, Ronald noticed that Nancy's business was good and asked Nancy whether there was any competitor in the neighbourhood. Nancy said that there was no other dessert shop in the village and told Ronald the approximate amount of income earned from her business in the last 3 years. Unknown to Nancy, about a year ago, a young lady called Eva moved into the village and decided to open a similar style dessert shop. As Eva was not a sociable person and did not try to make friends with other people in the village, Nancy and other people in the village did not really notice what she was doing. Relying on Nancy's representation that there would be no competitor in the neighbourhood, and believing that he would also be able to earn a stable, decent income like Nancy, Ronald decided to enter into a contract with Nancy to buy her business. On the day of signing of the contract, Nancy did not know that Eva's dessert shop was already in operation. Not long after Ronald had opened his dessert shop, Ronald noticed that there was another dessert shop in the village which was operated by Eva, and business there was good. Ronald found that the income he earned from his business continued to decline. When asked by Ronald about the existence of Eva's dessert shop, Nancy replied that she knew nothing about it before or on the day of their signing of the contract. Ronald did not believe what Nancy said. In this question, the requirements involve common law and the Misrepresentation Ordinance. The answer should directly address the question. Let's break down the situation for a clearer understanding. Background: Nancy, a sole proprietor, has been running a successful dessert shop in a village in the New Territories for over 10 years. Due to health reasons, she decided to sell her business. Parties involved: Nancy, seller of the dessert shop; Ronald, interested buyer; Eva, owner of a competing dessert shop. Facts: Nancy assured Ronald that there were no competitors in the village. Ronald relied on this information and bought Nancy's business. Unknown to Nancy, Eva had opened a similar dessert shop a year ago. After purchasing, Ronald discovered Eva's shop and noticed a decline in his business income. Disputes 1. Ronald believes Nancy misrepresented the competitive landscape of the village. 2. Nancy claims she was unaware of Eva's shop at the time of the sale. Action taken by parties 1. Ronald questioned Nancy about Eva's shop post-purchase. 2. Nancy maintained she did not know about Eva's shop before or at the time of the contract. Action to be taken under Misrepresentation Ordinance, Cap 2 84 1. Fraudulent misrepresentation. Ronald can sue if he proves Nancy knowingly lied. 2. Negligent misrepresentation. Easier to prove if Ronald shows Nancy failed to exercise reasonable care. 3. Innocent misrepresentation. If Nancy genuinely did not know about Eva's shop, she might argue this defence. After analysing the question by breaking it down, we can now begin answering it. Answer. The question required the candidates to discuss misrepresentation under common law and the Misrepresentation Ordinance, Cap 284, MO. Note, unless otherwise stated, the references to the below provisions are made to the Misrepresentation Ordinance, Cap 284. Misrepresentation is not defined in the MO. Under common law, misrepresentation is a false statement of fact which induced that party to enter into a contract. In order to constitute misrepresentation, the false statement made by the representer must be one of fact, but not one of opinion or future intention. The misrepresentation must be material, which means it would affect a reasonable person's decision whether to enter into the contract, and finally, it must be shown that the representee has acted upon the false statement. That is, the representee has been induced to enter into the contract based upon the false statement. There are 3 types of misrepresentation. 1. Fraudulent misrepresentation. When a false statement is made knowingly, without belief in its truth, or recklessly, not caring whether it is true or false. It is essentially a statement made without honest belief. 2. Negligent misrepresentation, where a false statement is made in the honest belief that it is true. However, when the person makes the statement, he, she, fails to exercise reasonable care and skill in coming to that conclusion. 3. Innocent misrepresentation, where a person makes a false statement in the honest belief that it is true, and there are reasonable grounds for him/her to hold such a belief. If Ronald thinks that Nancy intentionally lied to Ronald when Nancy said there was no other dessert shop in the village, Ronald can try to sue Nancy for fraudulent misrepresentation. However, Ronald will have to prove that Nancy had a dishonest intention when she made the representation. It will be much easier for Ronald to sue Nancy for negligent misrepresentation. The burden of proof regarding negligent misrepresentation has been reversed by the MO. Under S31, once the representee has shown the statement of fact which induced him/her to enter into the contract was false, the representer will be presumed to be liable unless he/she can prove that he/she had reasonable grounds to believe, and did believe, that the facts represented were true at the time of the conclusion of the contract. If it can be proved that Nancy did not know that Eva had opened a dessert shop before, and up to the time when Nancy entered into the contract with Ronald, then Nancy might be able to argue that she had reasonable grounds to believe that the facts represented to Ronald were true at the time of the conclusion of the contract, and the representation Nancy made to Ronald was an innocent misrepresentation. Here is a summary of the key points related to common law and the Misrepresentation Ordinance for the answer. Misrepresentation under common law and the Misrepresentation Ordinance, Cap 284, MO, involves a false statement of fact that induces a party to enter into a contract. It must be material, affecting a reasonable person's decision, and the representee must have acted upon it. There are 3 types. 1. Fraudulent misrepresentation, a false statement made knowingly, recklessly, or without belief in its truth. 2. Negligent misrepresentation, a false statement made honestly, but without reasonable care and skill. 3. Innocent misrepresentation, a false statement made honestly with reasonable grounds for belief. Ronald can sue Nancy for fraudulent misrepresentation if he proves she intentionally lied about the absence of competitors. However, proving negligent misrepresentation is easier. Under subsection 3(1) of the MO, once Ronald shows the false statement induced him to contract, Nancy must prove she had reasonable grounds to believe it was true. If Nancy genuinely did not know about Eva's shop, she might argue innocent misrepresentation, claiming she had reasonable grounds to believe her statement was true at the time of the contract. The video has now ended. Thank you all for watching. Goodbye.